I really need to just settle down. It's been a relatively busy day. How about you? And now it's the weekend. Is it going to be any less busy? Probably not, but that's good. It's Memorial Day weekend. We'll speak more about Memorial Day on Sunday evening and on Monday. However, it's a long weekend. I know a lot of people are traveling. If you are traveling when you watch this, most likely the recording of it, then I hope this helps you on your travels. And it's kind of appropriate, actually, because the title of this talk today, or this reading today, if you like, is The Way Back Home. Therefore, if you're traveling this weekend and you're coming back home, well, it's the way back home. Obviously, it doesn't mean that literally in this case. I mean, it can, but it really doesn't. But it's kind of cute. So welcome once more, my friends, to another reading from the Science of Mind magazine, The Daily Guides. And as I said, it's brought to you care of Creative Life Spiritual Center in Spring, Texas. We didn't think we were going to be open. That's in person this weekend, but we are. Our electricity is back on. If you get our weekly email, you would have got it today, and you would have seen a picture there of the electricity pole, all nicely repaired. And although I guess the live wires have all been reconnected, the power is back on. Our well water is working again because we work on a well there. We also work in a septic tank because it's off the grid, quote unquote, although it's surrounded by buildings that obviously are in pretty close proximity that are on the grid. But the bottom line is we will be open for business in person. So the odds are you're going to see me. I don't have a big part in the service every Sunday. Occasionally I do a talk, but by and large what I do is the announcements. It may not seem a big part, but it's an important part. Why? Because I'm the one who has got to go up there and ask people to make their donations. And if you feel inclined to make a donation, if you like what we do, if you like what we have to say, and you think we're helping the world, then it would be appreciated if you make a donation. It's not going to go to anything trivial. It's going to go to a good cause, and it's going to go to help make the world a better place. It's pretty good. If you want to know how to do it, it's all there in the description. There's a link. If you get our weekly email, you know how to do that. If you come in person, well, you can do it in person. Checks, cash, credit cards, they're all good. One of these days, we'll get into the real world and we'll accept Zelle and Venmo. But right now, our bank doesn't let us do that. I didn't intend this to be, a talk about, hey, give us some money. No, I just happened to come across it because that's what I do on Sundays. I make the announcements and I get the people to put their offerings in the baskets as they go around the congregation, and also people online. Well, let's get on with it. As I mentioned, it's called The Way Back Home. The Way Back Home. The first quote is from a lady called Mary Oliver. She lived for she was born in 1935. She passed away, I think, in 2019. And she was a poet. She actually won a Pulitzer Prize. She won a Best Book Award. She, one time in the early 2000s, she was actually the best-selling poet in the United States. And she loved to take solitary walks in the countryside. She loved to be connected with nature, and she liked to support nature. And she says, I climb, I backtrack, I float, I ramble my way back home. I climb, I backtrack, I float, I ramble my way back home. And that was in Have You Ever Tried to Enter the Long Black Branches? Mary Oliver. Ernest Holmes in The Creative Mind and Success says, and it's on page 31, says, there's something that awaits our recognition to spring into being, bringing with it all the power in the universe. There's something that awaits our recognition to spring into being, bringing with it all the power in the universe. And before I start reading on, I'm going to come back and mention these quotes. There's something good about traveling. I love traveling, but there's also something good about getting back home. Usually I go to Holland at least once a year, and I go to Britain occasionally, not as often as I would like. And usually my trips to Holland are 3 to 4 weeks long, occasionally 2. It's mostly 3 to 4 weeks. But I can tell you, if it's a 4-week trip to Europe, by the middle of the last week, I am ready to come back home. I'm ready to get back here because this is my home and I'm just wanting to get back here. And when Ernest Holmes said there's something that awaits our recognition to spring into being, and that the power of the universe is behind all that, it kind of reminds me of when I was studying, going through the program to become a minister, and it's, at least I took the part that's connected with the master's program. You don't have to do the master's program part, but I decided I wanted to do that because I wanted to learn. And part of what we learned, of course, was not necessarily a little bit about quantum mechanics, but more about the field. And in the field, as we mentioned before, everything exists in a state of probability until a consciousness is focused on it. And then you get this quantum collapse. So in the quantum field, everything that possibly could exist is there, but it's in a waveform. And when a consciousness focuses on it, it does what's called a quantum collapse, and it changes from a waveform into a particle. In other words, it starts to appear in the known universe. And that's the nearest parallel I can think of to what Ernest Holmes is saying here, that in the infinite mind, everything exists that possibly could exist. And that when you focus on that one idea, then you're helping to bring it into being. And that was in The Creative Mind and Success, page 31. Oh, and by the way, I should mention this as well. If you want to look for different publications, then the Science of Mind Archives online, scienceofmindarchives.org, it may be .com as well, but definitely .org, scienceofmindarchives.org. You can see loads and loads of published material out there. And you can order real copies, real copies, you can order hard copies, or you can get digital copies, you can do digital downloads. And if you support them, it's about $100 a year for membership, then you can get a lot more stuff. You can get some free stuff. So there's a plug for the Science of Mind Archives. Reverend Kathy Mastriani, with whom I was in ministerial school, is the one who runs it. And this is from, finally, from Reverend Ryan. A crazy and terrifying thing happened to me recently. I was walking my little furry friend on a walk when I inadvertently dropped the leash. The banging of the leash on the sidewalk sent him into what can only be described as panic on an epic scale. He immediately decided running was the best course of action, and he took off. I snapped into Olympic sprinting mode, but was no match for his tiny little quick feet. He was gone in a flash, and I was left heaving on the sidewalk. Thankfully, he fled to the safety of home, and I found him waiting for me on the back patio. He had this look on his face that said, "Well, it's about time." This got me thinking about the instinct to return home in times of challenge, difficulty, or transition. Home may be a caregiver's embrace, a friend's couch, the support of a beloved community, or that still place within us where we get our balance and regain our footing. Our instinct is to return to safety, security, and stability. We've all been there, metaphorically running down the sidewalk in the middle of the night with our leash dangling behind us, trying to find our way back. This is the beauty of the spiritual path and of community. In both of these, we find our way back. The goal is to think about and celebrate home, whatever that looks like. It is the space that allows us to feel held, so we can step out in new and exciting ways. It gives us the ability to evolve and grow and rejoice in each step. So we're talking about going home in the literal sense, but we're also talking about it in the metaphorical sense. And it's funny that we should be doing this because we have a channel, it's called Music Choice Relax, that we have on our TV service. And in there, they play some music. It's not pop music or anything like that. It's not classical music either per se, but it's relaxing music, uplifting music. It's calming music. And in there, they will keep flashing these quotes from different people. And they were flashing a quote this morning from Thich Nhat Hanh, who was the famous Buddhist priest, monk, the one who really introduced mindfulness to the world. We mentioned that before. And he would have been, I think, one of the first ones to say that we all need that quiet time. Not necessarily just coming back physically home here or to a friend's couch or somebody who believes in a philosophy and they've drifted away from it and now they've come back to it. But sometimes we need that going home time where we're just at home with ourselves, that we take quiet time, we relax, we do breathing exercises, we have some quiet time where we touch base again with that which is the best of all things. And that's what I get out of that. So this reminds me that doing my daily practice of breathing and quiet time is important, and that I need to make sure I do it as often as I can. I even try and do it on the plane when I'm flying over to Europe or wherever. And it's easier these days because I can put in noise cancelling earbuds and it more or less shuts out the drone of the engines and whatever's going on around me. And at night it's easier because people, after they've eaten, guess what they want to do? They want to just go to sleep, right? The affirmation is pretty cool. I celebrate home in all the ways it shows up in my life. See, it's not just one way. I celebrate home in all the ways it shows up in my life. So once again, what do you think of the reading? Was it a reading that appealed to you? Did it not appeal to you? I really would wish that some of you would just let me know. A lot of you come on and say, oh yeah, I see, such-body liked it, such-body liked it, such-body liked it. I very seldom see any actual comments, but maybe I'm not looking far enough because I'm broadcasting to, let me see, Instagram, YouTube, and 3 different, is it 3 or 4 different Facebook channels, 4 different Facebook channels, which means, yeah, maybe you are commenting and I'm just looking at the wrong ones, but there we are then. And this, of course, is all recorded. If you're watching the recording, it doesn't matter. In time and space, it doesn't matter. Reverend Lisa will be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. As I've said, we'll be in person again on Sunday in our service. Please join us either in person or online. In person, if you live close by. It's really a good experience. But until next time, I just simply want to say, take care. Take care of yourselves. Namaste.